When one thinks of expectations, most immediately think the expectations that are put on them by their parents when they were younger, and some others may think of the ones that they put on themselves. Now, when you grow up, some can see these expectations as something good, but most end up seeing them as things that can ruin or make your life a lot more stressful or infuriating for themselves. These thoughts that were put into our mind when we were younger made us believe that we are meant to be something great in the future. For some, these are the very things that help them achieve these goals for what they are working for and to where they work hard enough to get it one day. But for the larger quantity, when they don't get into that high standard set for them, it often leaves them with these negative feelings that decline their mental health. These feelings often, if not always, contain self-hatred, self-doubt, and feelings of being a failure. But when these cases go right, the feeling that often go along with it raises a person's self-esteem and their outlook onto the world. In the real world, we can see examples of how expectations can both help but at the same time harm students of any grade level, but mainly high school students. It has been seen time and time again with students who start as straight A students, but later in high school, their grades start to slack and lower due to them not wanting to keep up, putting in the work just to have better grades than others, or to take more care about their social lives rather than just chasing those grades that people have set onto them to chase. But we can also see how if these students keep up that work, they can have more discipline, and those grades can help them get into colleges that they might want to get into the future, and also helping them with the stress that comes with said college. If we look at other things, we can also see examples of this in fiction. If we look at the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, we can see a great example of this with its main character, Miles Morales. At the start of the movie, we see that how Miles is expected to be this high-level student going to a new high-level school after scoring great on their entrance exam. In this, we see how he wrestles with this new change and how he wants to stay in his old life with his old friends and not with these new high-level school students. But it's throughout the movie we see him becoming more experienced and content with taking on this role and becoming Spider-Man, and also friends of his dorm roommate as a plus. But then if we look at other media, we can see how expectations go negatively with someone like Homelander from the Amazon Prime show The Boys. At the start of the series, it can be hard to pinpoint, but the more and more we get into the show, we see how these expectations shape him for the show. We see how Homelander and how he's supposed to be this great superhero affects him for the worse. Multiple times in the show, we see him talking to himself about how he's supposed to be more and to cut out his human emotions. Him constantly being told and showed that he was supposed to be this perfect hero with the combination with the horrors he went under as a child shaped him to be very mentally unstable. In the newest season of The Boys, which is season 5, he starts to see himself as the Messiah due to his own illusions of him being constantly fed this thought of you're meant to be a great hero and more. And how we also see how he's constantly told by others, like Soldier Boy for example, he is a very, very big disappointment until it comes like later this season and Soldier Boy starting to warm up to him a bit. Now once we combine all of those things, we get the product of Homelander and him being this very mentally unstable case due to these expectations that was bestowed upon him since he was a child, along with all of the trauma once again that he experienced as a child. Now don't get me wrong, this is a very outlandish scenario if we pull up Homelander from The Boys, because the whole superheroes and all that, but we can see through it how expectations can negatively affect someone in their life. But one other example we can look at through a more realistic lens are YouTubers, in my opinion. When I think about this topic, the two who mainly appear the most and I would like to talk about is Joe Bartolozzi and Kai Cenat. Now yes, I do know they are mainly streamers, but I still want to talk about them and I see them as close enough in their content to just call them YouTubers, but yes, I know they are still considered streamers. Now once we look at these two, we can see how someone uses the expectations to change for the better and how one just breaks through the expectations entirely to do what they want. Before I start talking about Joe, I just want to emphasize all of this perspective I got for Joe was from a video, this one to be specific, and it was him reacting to a video about his content creator journey. Not to mention I had it in the background while doing homework, so I might have heard or misinterpreted it wrong, so sorry in advance if I do. But in the video, he talks about him being a bad person due to him becoming his online personality before he became a streamer and was still just on TikTok, so that's the relative time frame he was talking about for that. And in the video, he talks about how he became narcissistic. And I might be wrong here, but when I think of this, I see young Joe seeing how good he was doing, and through the expectations of his fame of him wanting to live up to it, it made him become a person that wasn't the best and a little bit on the bad side, aka the narcissism. But if you look at his content now, you see a much more different person.
From a charity stream goal, by the way. That's, it's like a 10-second TikTok dance. I think I learned it.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I have to charge. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I have to charge. You want it?
Over!
After seeing his content, it's very clear he made his content much more deeper and personal to the audience, and also has changed for the better. Now let's take a look at Kai. Once we look at Kai, we see how he has these expectations from him being one of, if not the biggest streamer at one point in time. But then, to shock most people, he did what he wanted to, even if it affected his content negatively towards his viewership and monetization to a little nitpicky, but I'll explain it later point. Now again, just in case I get anything wrong, I want to tell you all that I am not that informed when it comes to this and to what Kai did, and I mainly only know the beginning of what happened and the broad strokes of it. And to as far as my knowledge goes, Kai started reading in his streams and started his own fashion/clothing design. As far as I know, it seems that Kai generally likes doing these things and wants to go into the designing game even if it loses his audience and the increasing amount of people criticizing this change. And you obviously see this change with if you're ever on TikTok at the time, just seeing how people thought it was performative of him holding up the timer ending and him continuing reading. So I get why some people might call it performative, but if he liked it, he liked it. And one final time, I just want to reiterate, I don't know the full extent of it, but if it all did go according like that, how I saw it, then we see how Kai turned away from expectations so he could do things he loves and likes in his field. But one of the other type of expectations I failed to mention and mainly focus on was the expectations that we put onto ourselves that come internally and that we want to achieve the most. Both these expectations coming from the inside and where you really want to do them the most coming straight from you. These can be the most damaging and hardest expectations to achieve out of all of them. Now I know some of these expectations could be simple everyday life things like get decent grades, head to the gym, maybe fit a diet. Like simple stuff like that, you know, nothing too harsh, but nothing too easy. Now in retrospect, yeah, these expectations can be way less harmful compared to other expectations, but I am specifically talking about these more long-term and larger expectations that we put on ourselves that can be much more harmful inside. Now when you talk about these expectations of something more bigger, more large, more grand scale, the mind can often go to many things. But expectations like this are the ones where I think people mostly think of, oh, I'm going to retire mom and dad when I'm older. Oh, I'm going to be successful in my future and working hard enough so you can just get anything you want in life, any position, anything. Now, I think it goes without saying, you can't be anything you want to be. Life just isn't like that, and it's a sad future of how most of us are destined to work a 9 to 5 all of our lives and not to be able to live the lives that others may live. But it's just the way the world goes and the way it will keep going, and I don't think it ever will change, because as long as there's no need, no one's gonna work and no one's gonna make more stuff in a sense. At least that's what I think, but I could be terribly wrong. Now don't twist my words, I'm not saying that living that way is bad. I know some people do in generally living like that guy who posted his TikToks and how he liked his 9 to 5 life and just liked living in that simplicity type thing. Yeah, never mind. After researching this a bit and after editing this video more, I just found out that guy fucking quit his job and is now on TikTok live. So I'm not saying you can't enjoy your job, that was just kind of a bad example on my part. Now through all of these examples, we see how expectations could be this double-edged sword for someone's mental health. Expectations are both good and bad, but like everything else, they are good in healthy regulation. But don't let them take this front seat of your life, or else they might drag you down and drown you in this dark abyss of something harmful and negative thoughts that consume your every waking moment. Well, I had a lot of fun making this video, and I do know I need to improve my writing majorly. I'm pretty sure I heard from one of my teachers that you never want to repeat the same word too many times in any given sentence in any type of speech. So if that is the case, well, I sure as hell used way too many throughs and buts at the start of every sentence. But with that all said, I hope you all have a very nice day.